Hello everyone, welcome. So I wanted today to share, to just experiment for all of us really, and just show the effects of the various whites on colour. So titanium white, so firstly let's go through these tubes of paint. So the colour I'm going to use is a Schminky Prime Acryl Pyrrole Red Dark, and it's a gorgeous colour. When you'll see when I put it out, it's a beautiful colour. And these paints, I like working with all of these paints. I've only just really started playing with the Schminky Prime Acryl, and I do have to say it's a beautiful paint. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's just so beautiful and buttery, and yeah, it's just really delicious. It's lovely. So that's the colour we're going to be using. I'm going to be using some titanium white, our usual titanium white, which is opaque, and it shows that here with this little coloured in dot. The Matisse zinc white, which is semi-transparent, and that's shown by this symbol. Another Schminky Prime Acryl, which is the mixing white, and it is transparent. I also wanted to try the Matisse iridescent white, just to kind of have some fun with that. And the Matisse Structure Antique White, which has a slight yellowy tinge, and it's also opaque. The iridescent white is opaque as well. And I also thought I'd throw in the Matisse Fluid Titanium White, which is opaque, and just so you can see the effect of that, and you can see then whether it makes any difference between whether I use this or whether I use a heavy bodied acrylic white. I'm loving working with the fluids. I bought a few of them, and I'm really enjoying working with the fluids, and I'm considering seriously switching from heavy body paint to fluids as I replace my paint. That's my feeling at the moment. We will see. So let's just put these aside down here for now, and let's bring in this little pad. This is a very, as you can see, a very small pad, and this is only an A5. It's just a cheap little canvas pad, Montmartre canvas pad. They're really cheap, like $4 it was. But they're great for just making studies or for experimenting with new techniques, things like that. And then you can, if you really like it, then you can go and explore what it is on something bigger. So let's put out the paint. So let's put 2 lots, I feel. Let's put the Schminky Pyrrole Red Dark up here. We'll do 2 lots. I'm wearing an apron. I get paint all over me. I don't know if you do as well. It's like, that's the fun part. That's the fun part. Whole body and clothes painting. And actually, I was going to put them all out at once, but I'm not going to do that because, as we know, acrylic paint dries really fast. And I've just realised I really need my palette knife, which is just here. Handy. Okay, so, and I'm just going to give the canvas pad a bit of a spritz, misting. And let's see, so I'm just going to put these up here actually out of the way for now. So let's see how we go with the titanium white. Titanium white has a reputation for dulling colour, and for making some colours quite chalky. And that's the reason. Whereas, you know, if we're wanting to keep more of the colour, then we don't really want it. We want to have something else available to us. So I'm just going to clean my palette knife. Had my trusty flat brush here ready. And now I'm not going to use it, but that's okay. Yeah, so if we want more colour to show and we don't want the colour to dull, we want to lighten it a bit, but we don't want to dull it completely, then, you know, maybe what's another option to do using titanium white? And the beauty is that these days, with so many choices available to us in colours and paints, pigments, we have, it's like the world is our oyster. Okay, so there is our titanium white, and yeah, to me it has dulled it quite a lot. It's a very pastel-y colour. Just going to put my glasses on. It's a very pastel-y colour, and it's kind of, I don't know. Let's see what zinc white does, and I think I'm going to have to go over to this page here and kind of work backwards. Some zinc white, and then it's just spritz again. Bring in some more of the Pyrrole Red Dark. Oh, don't you just love that? Oh, it's like watercolour. See? There you go. There's another use for acrylic paint. You can treat it like watercolour. I know, I get excited by things like that. I just think it's delicious. It's beautiful. So straight away, you can see that I've added the zinc white into the Pyrrole Red Dark. And look, you compare that to that, huge difference. So a lot more colour available, a lot more colour here with the zinc white. I'm just going to clean my palette knife. Let's add a lot more of the zinc white and see what happens. Clean my knife. Let's just take a little bit of that. So you can see, hopefully you can see, there's more colour in using the zinc white than there is with the titanium white, which is very cool. Having said that, though, you know, horses for courses, as they say. You know, sometimes you might want to have a real strong pastel-y colour, you know, hue, and sometimes you might want a bit more colour. So they're not wrong. None of them are wrong. They're just different. You know, a bit like people. Not wrong, just different. So now this one is the Schminky Prime Acryl, and this one is transparent. So this is more transparent than this one. So let's see what happens with this. Okay, bit on here. We'll do a spritz. Get some more beautiful watercolour ripples and roots going. So I'm hoping you can see, let's get rid of that brush. I'm hoping you can see even, and it's very subtle, but the difference between the mixing white and the zinc white even, like I'm holding that there and I don't know if you can see, but there's a touch more vibrancy in this than there is in the zinc white, and 100% more vibrancy than the titanium white, of course, because it's opaque, so we would expect it to be duller. But the interesting thing is yeah, it's just, it's like there's a subtle difference in the color itself. Like this is more, feels more pinky, dusky, kind of pink, heading towards dusky pink. This is different. This is different. What would you call it? What would you call that? It's just different. We're going to have to go over the other side for the other ones. I think I might have had a bit more of the white in there than the other two samples. But even so, even if I add just a touch more of the schminky mixing white to the side there, let's see. So I've used more of the zinc, the mixing white here than I did with these two, and it's taken a lot more of the white to get it down to a similar value to here. That's a much lighter value than either of these, but yeah, but it's still different. Can you see the difference? It's subtle. It's very subtle, but it's different, which is really cool. And I really recommend playing with colour and doing this regularly with all your colours. Not, not just with your white, but your blacks. Let's bring this over here. We need more of that, but I really recommend making colour swatches and creating your own colour charts with all your, especially your favourite colours, just to see what can be made from what. It's fun and it teaches you a lot. So this is our iridescent white. Matisse structure, heavy body, iridescent white. Let's do a mist. Let's get some of this red over here. So you can already see you might not be able to see on the camera. I don't know if I move it like that. You can see the pearlescent shift in it, but let's see what it does as far as the lightening, whether it dulls it or not, like the titanium white or not. And in a way, I kind of expect that it will, because again, it's an opaque it's an opaque paint. So, and if so that has dulled but it's kind of in between. Just trying to see. So it's kind of in between these two. But yeah, and again, a different, it's got a subtle different shade to this one. It's closer to the schminky, actually, in the technical word escapes me. But this is more pink. These two in particular, there's something else going on. Now this one is antique white, and it's taken some effort to get this out. So you can see already as soon as I get it out that it's got a slightly yellowy tinge to it already. So that's going to have an effect. I think we might need a little bit more of the red. Get that lid on without getting covered in it. I try. I do try. I used to just completely forget it, get so excited about wanting to create and paint that I wouldn't even worry about putting an apron on and everything. The number of pants and tops that have gotten covered in paint is just ridiculous, especially dressing gowns in winter. They're destined to get covered in paint. So already, even though this is actually an opaque paint as well, there's still more colour in this than there is in this, or than there is in the titanium white, and still less than the zinc white though. So that's interesting. Antique white makes a very effective colour as a wash. Like I've used it when I've painted a stream, a very shallow stream, and there's been rocks and pebbles and stuff in the water, and then I've gone over that with a wash of antique white, and it just gives it a beautiful look, like water. It kind of it just gives that kind of a glazed effect, like you're looking through water. So that was really effective. And I've also helped some of my students use it. I used it the other day with somebody. Used it the other day, suggested it with somebody, and they used it. I think that might have been water as well. No, it was on sand on the beach, and yeah, just needed the colour toning down. It was too saturated in colour, and so I suggested they use a wash of antique white, and that was perfect. It was just what was needed to tone it all down. So antique white is really, really useful. They're all useful, all for different things. The pearlescent is probably not going to be one that I would use much at all. In fact, I haven't really used it much at all. But the others, yeah, all for different purposes. You can see the effect of the antique white on the red. Obviously, it's got a slight. It's more of a peachy tone than the iridescent or any of the others. and that's the yellow has given that slight peachy tone to the red, which is fun. So now I'm just going to try the fluid so you can see if there is any difference between, that's perfect. That's perfect. Titanium white, titanium white. I planned that perfectly. Yep. That's with my intention all along. So then we can compare the fluid with the heavy body and see if there is any difference in this little demonstration anyway. And as I said, I'm loving using the fluids. You don't need to add medium to them. Most of the time you don't need to add medium. You can if you want to make them even more fluid or last longer, but they take longer to dry, slightly longer to dry. So there's that benefit as well, and we all know that that drying time can be a positive or a negative, depending on what we want to do. And they're so easy to work with. They're just so easy to work with. Beautiful. I know, I'm tempted to use the word delicious again. But they are. So it's pretty close to the same as its neighbour, which is the heavy body titanium white. They're pretty close. And in fact, if I probably put a little bit more of that in there, that's still a little bit lighter, but I would say, yeah, they're basically the same tinting strength, but you might need a bit more of the fluid white, titanium white, to get the same effect, perhaps. Yeah, so that's really cool, and that was really useful. I hope you found it useful. So titanium white, you would use that if you want to get something really pastel-y like that. If you want a bit more colour in your painting, whatever it is that you are painting, if you wanted a bit more colour, but you just want to lighten it a little bit, then you would use your zinc white. If you want to have more colour still, then more colour showing still, then you would use your mixing white. And there's all different, it depends on what you're painting as to when you would use that. I tend to be quite intuitive with how I paint, and when I'm painting it'll be an in the moment thing. It'll be like, okay, no, I need this to be quite pale, I need it to be heading towards white, definitely needs to be heading towards white, and I will be using white. And so most of the time probably I would go for titanium white, but I might work my way in. I might go with a mixing white if I'm wanting to gradate that colour into being an almost pure white, and even with a touch of pure titanium white as a highlight. I could gradate from using the colour, using the mixing white, which is transparent, and then go to the zinc white, and then to the titanium white, and then to highlights of the pure titanium white. So all different effects. You would know if you're painting whether you wanted a slight yellowy tinge or, you know, to bring that in, then you would use your antique white. Iridescent white is just got a bit more of a sparkle, but it also is a different hue, different tint, different tone to the others. So if you're wanting to experiment with your iridescent white, I would do some practices. And that's why I was saying, do your color swatches. If you're doing when you're doing a painting, it's a really good idea to use something like this pad and put out all the colors that you feel you're going to use in your painting, and then do color swatches of this color. You know, say you've got ultramarine blue, and you put a square of that here, and you do a value line or a string of ultramarine blue and gradually adding white. And you could use, in that case, if you wanted, depending on what you were going to do, you could even do, you know, ultramarine blue with titanium white, a string going from darkest dark being pure ultramarine blue from the tube, white at the very end, and mixing every colour in every shade in between. And then you might do one with zinc white, and then you might do one with mixing white, for instance. And you would pick out your next colour, and maybe that's I don't know, let's just say magenta, and you depended on your painting and how far you wanted to go. But I do recommend making colour swatches of the colours that you're going to be using in your painting, and even mixing up, you know, if you've got your blue and you've got an orange, or say mix those two together and then do a gradation of that, mix in some black into that, the blue and the orange, and see what you get with that. And any other colours, you know, whatever colours you're going to use, mix them up, play with them, find out what's possible, what options do you have. And that's the thing, it gives you options, it gives you choices of colours that you can use in your painting and still be using a limited palette. So limited palettes are really, and this is longer than and more involved than I was intending this to be, but a limited palette is really useful for creating harmony in your painting, because you're using the same colours to create more colours, but you've got that underlying base of those same colours. They're harmonised throughout your whole painting, and people feel that, you'll feel that. So yeah, that's really, really useful, and perhaps I'll do another video talking about harmonising in your painting as well. So I hope this has been useful. Just to go again, titanium white, zinc white, hold on, here we go. Titanium white fluid, titanium white heavy bodied, zinc white, mixing white, back over here to iridescent white, and antique white. And hopefully you can see all of those. Yep. Can you see all of those? Yep, you can. Okie dokie. Awesome. Cool. I hope that's been useful. Cool. Catch you next time. Bye.